The mystics of all the great world religions tell us that we will never understand the true nature of God any more than the fish can understand the nature of the water that they swim in. All we can have is a very dim awareness that we live and move and have our being in a power that is greater than ourselves. Now, chemists can tell us about the chemical formulation of water. They can tell us that it is made up of 2 atoms hydrogen, 1 atom oxygen. And theologians have many abstract formulations for the nature of God. But here's the thing. You don't have to understand water in order to drink it. You don't have to understand water in order to wash your hands with it. You don't have to understand water in order to bathe or to swim in it. Long ago, on the last night of his life, Jesus didn't talk to his disciples about abstract chemical formulas or abstract theological notions about God. Instead, he humbled himself and took the form of a servant and washed their feet. Now, that action of love and service happened a long time ago. But there are times when I'm hiking in the mountains that I like to take off my shoes and wade into the river, and it feels like the water that is flowing around my feet and in between my toes is a kind of ministry, a healing ministry. The Hebrew scriptures tell us that once God said to Moses, "Take off your shoes, for the ground upon which you stand is holy ground." And so there need to be moments when we take off our shoes and wander into a stream and let the currents flow around our feet and feel that ministry and know that every moment is a sacred moment. Every river is a holy river. All water is holy water. Sometimes there is a power all around us and flowing through us that is ministering to us. I say sometimes there is a power because there are other times when we just can't feel it. There are other times when we feel like a fish out of water. And this may be one of those times. This is the time of year where we have our annual water communion. But we can't gather together in the same room. We can't gather together in the same building. And so this year our water communion will be quite different. This year will be our first virtual online water communion. Usually we invite people to bring water from wherever they may have traveled over the summer, the vacation or staycation, and add water to a common bowl, reminding us of how our shared communal life, our common life, has been enriched by our individual spiritual journeys. This year, we've invited people to email in pictures. The pictures may be from travels over the summer or over the whole year, and maybe they're just travels in our own imagination. Pictures from vacations or staycations, pictures that remind us of the many different ways water helps to renew life. The picture might be simply of a form of water that inspires us, like clouds or rainbows or snow or ice or creeks or rivers or oceans or lakes. Some form of water that helps us feel renewed. Now, I know over the summer, some of us have been swimming in quarries, and some of us have been watering gardens. Some of us have been drinking from springs, and others have simply watched clouds float by out the window after being in a hospital for a number of days. There are many different ways we've experienced water communion. So we're going to be showing these pictures, and I hope these pictures will help you feel that connection to something greater than yourself. Hey, did you know that someone used their quarantine to knit me an octopus hat? It's pretty cool, isn't it? Well, here's an interesting fact about octopi. Did you know that an octopus can only live for 2 or 3 hours outside of the water, or it will perish. The octopus needs water, the power in which it lives and moves and has its being in order to live. We human beings are the same way. We can only live 2 or 3 days without drinking water. And so we too need this power in which we live and move. But water comes in many different forms. And when I was trying to think of what picture to send in for the water communion, I thought of a lot of different things. I thought maybe I would send in a picture of clouds over a mountain, or a picture of a river, or a picture of a creek or an ocean. But I finally decided to send in a picture of watermelon. Watermelon is my absolutely favorite thing to eat in the summertime. And I decided something this summer, that watermelon is one of the things that a pandemic can't ruin. It tastes great no matter if the world is going to hell in a handbasket outside. Watermelon tastes very good. It's one of the most wonderful things. All you have to do, it just grows out of the ground, and all you have to do is pick it and take it into the kitchen and cut it up and eat it and share it with others. It's just a wonderful thing. So water falls from the sky and nourishes the seed that turns into a vine that becomes a watermelon. And it reminds me of one of the parables of Jesus, which I will paraphrase slightly. He said, "The kingdom of God is like a watermelon seed, the smallest of all seeds that grows to be one of the largest of all fruits." And if you're like me and you can't eat watermelon without swallowing some of the seeds, then we also should take the teachings of Luke serious, that the kingdom of God is within you. And so the kingdom of God is like a seed that grows when it is watered. The Apostle Paul reminded us that the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And we need water. We need Spirit in order for these fruits to come into being. Last week I was driving down the interstate, and there was a truck in front of me that hadn't had a wash in quite a while, and somebody had written in the dirt on the back of the truck the question, "No church?" ? And then a kind of an imperative statement, "Be the church." So when the church doors are closed, we can still be the church. When the building is closed, the fruits of the Spirit can still flourish. Water comes in many different forms and can be held in many different containers. And one of the forms it can take is the rain that falls from the sky, the rain that falls on the just and the unjust, that helps watermelon seeds to grow, but can also spoil a good picnic or complicate a great outdoor wedding. One of the reasons that we are not meeting in this sanctuary this Sunday morning is because of water. And in particular, water droplets. You may not know this, but water droplets are one of the main ways that the virus is being spread. Water droplets that come out of our mouths when we speak, or when we preach, or when we talk to each other, or when we sing together, or participate in a choir together. And that's not the kind of water communion we want to have this morning. We want to have a water communion that keeps everyone safe, and yet also honors this interdependent web of existence of which we are a part, honors the ways that we are connected to each other and interrelated to each other. And this connection is when we feel this connection, that's when we feel most connected to that power in which we move and live and have our being. We want to have a water communion that helps create the common good, supports the public health, and helps us work for peace and justice in the world. Rain falls on the just and the unjust. And spirituality is our attitude toward the weather. So let's try to cultivate a good attitude, an attitude that helps us feel connected to each other and to work together to endure the challenges that we have to face together. Many years ago, I was asked to write my own personal definition of the word God for a class called Build Your Own Theology. And because we were Unitarian Universalists, I didn't have to do it. I could have opted out, but I decided to do it. And here's what I wrote. I wrote, whenever two or more are gathered to love and support and encourage each other, there is a power greater than ourselves that can renew, restore, and sustain us. But we can also feel this power when we are in our homes, because we know we are connected to each other. And we can feel that power when we are wading in a creek, or canoeing down a river, or kayaking in the ocean. We can feel that power wherever we are and wherever we go. But I don't want to end with an abstract or even a concrete definition of God. Rather, I'd like to end with some very practical theology. And this practical theology comes from Mahatma Gandhi, who said, "When we are poor and when we are hungry, God can only appear as bread and butter. And when we are thirsty, God can only appear as water."